Hello everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Aptitech Education. And as we all know, the greatest announcement has been done, that is TCS is organizing the National Qualified Test, which is scheduled for next month. That is, it is supposed to be in the month of February. Now it's high time that we start preparing. And for preparations, one thing that I would suggest is do not take up all the topics now and start doing topic wise. It's good that now you prepare it in a way where it is going to be more of test oriented rather than topic oriented, which is why we are doing this initiative, and we are going for section wise. We're picking up sections and we're making videos on that, and we'll be doing some questions from the previous year TCS National Qualified Test. Okay, so TCS NQT previous years, we have some questions and we're going to do that. So first, the section that I have picked today is logical reasoning. Now, if I talk about logical reasoning, we are going to have 30 questions in the TCS NQT. So we'll be having 30 questions to be solved, and approximately every question is going to have 1.5 minutes only, in which you'll have to read the question, formulate the concept, read everything about it, move forward and give your answers. All right. So since you have very less time per minute per question, it's going to be very important that you do not go by the conventional methods, that is the theoretical method, but you go by as much short trick as it is possible, so that you can save your time also and you can do that question within the stipulated time period. Okay, with accuracy obviously. So we are going to have accuracy and we're going to have speed. Logical reasonings are always a very good situation and the best confidence boosters in a particular paper, because some of the questions are going to be very easy, some questions are going to be a little logic based, while most of the questions are going to be on a very solvable range. So overall difficulty level of your logical reasoning portion, it is going to be on a moderate scale. So questions are not going to be very difficult, questions are going to be easier, or like most of them are going to be easier. Some would require little thinking, but we're going to make pass through it. So I have handpicked some questions from previous year. We're going to see that in this particular video. First question. So from the given pair, find the pair which is similar to the given pair, that is 8 is to 4. So this is a part of analogy. Analogy is a part of reasoning where you'll have to find the relation between the numbers or maybe alphabets and find from the options which of them has the same relation. If you closely look at 8 is to 4, 8 is to 4, something seems like 4 into 2. 4 into 2 gives me 8. This is the one relation that I can make out. But when you look at the options, none of the relation is in this way, that it is showing 4 into 2 is giving me 8, which means this is not the relation that I'm looking for. I'm not going to look for doubles. One more relation that I can try. I know 2 cube is 8. I know 2 square is 4. Okay, so 2 cube and 2 square, 4 and 8, I'm still getting the answers. When you look at the options, you can figure out that, okay, 216 and 32, this is also somewhat in relation to powers. 37 and 13, this is prime numbers, cannot be my answer. 45 and 5, this is 5 into 9 is 45, not possible, not my answer. 24 into 3 gives me 12, so this is multiplication, this is also not possible. So 216 and 312, this is also multiplication of 16s and all those things, not possible. But when you look at 27 and 9, 27 is 3 cube, 9 is 3 square. Same relation that is followed. That is, the first number is cube, the second number is square. Okay, same relation as 8 is to 4. My answer becomes option 1, that is 27 is to 9. So the same relation that was followed was cube and square. Here also I found cube and square. My answer becomes option 1. Next one. From the given options, choose the odd man out. Now, odd man out is a very important part of coding and decoding. Coding, decoding is a very important portion of logical reasoning. So, logical reasoning, you will always have questions from coding, decoding, where it will be find the code of, or maybe pick the odd man out, or give the next term of the series, or find the analogy like we did in the previous question. So, this all is a part of coding, decoding. When we look at the options, 4 of them are going to be of one type, whereas one would be that is not going to fit in that particular pattern. We'll have to find out what this one is that is not fitting the pattern. Okay, so Bangladesh and Taka. So Bangladesh and Taka, I figure out that Taka is the currency of Bangladesh. So basically, it's like country and the currency that we're going to deal with. Okay, so Brazil and Real. Okay, this is correct. Bangladesh and Taka, that is also correct. Japan and Yen is also correct. Iran and Rial is also correct. But when you look at Cyprus and dollar, the currency of Cyprus is not dollar, it's euro. So the odd man out is option C, option 3, that's Cyprus and dollar. So the sequence that was followed was country and its currency that's given to us. So you'll have to be abreast with a lot of general knowledge topics also, because these kind of questions are very possible to come out in odd man out. My answer is option 3, that's Cyprus and dollar. Let's do the next one. Okay, now as soon as question of this sort comes up, the first thing that students do is they don't read everything that is given in the question. This is a very, very important part. It's called as data sufficiency. DS, what we call it as. So data sufficiency, as the name itself suggests, all you have to look at is whether the given data that we have, is it sufficient to answer the given question? And the data that is given to you, it would be given in the format of these statements. So just using these two statements, we'll have to figure out that is this data, whether it is sufficient to answer this particular question. And then you'll have to give your answers as A, B, C, D, or E, where I already have the description of what A is, what B is, what C is, what D, and what E is. So A means if statement 1 alone is sufficient to answer the question, and when statement 1 alone is sufficient, that means I don't need the second one. Similarly, B is statement 2 alone is sufficient. That means I don't need the data of statement 1, only with the second statement I can answer. C is either 1 or 2 is going to be sufficient. So when you will use either of these statements, either you can use the first one or you can use the second one, you're going to get the answer. That's when, in that case, you'll have to give your answer as C. But if you talk about D, D is both the statements together are not sufficient. So even if I'm combining it, I'm not going to get any answer. That's what D is. But if you look at E, E means both the statements together are going to be necessary to answer the question. All right. So E is when both the statements are together necessary. Let's go for the first one. Priya is 15th from the left in a row. Question is how many children are there between Priya and Rashmi in a row of children? So let's talk about a row of children, multiple children. I don't know how many are there. So first statement alone. Priya is 15 from the left in the row. This does not make any clarity that where is Rashmi. So I'll have to use the next one also. So Priya is 15 from the left. That means there are already 14 children here. And Priya's location is 15. This is where Priya is. 15 from the left. All right. Now, Rashmi is exactly in the middle and there are 10 children towards her right. So Rashmi is exactly in the middle, 10 children towards her right. That means 10 towards her right, 10 towards her left. There are going to be a total of 21 children. A total of 21 children are going to be there. So if there are 10 children towards her right and Rashmi's position, this Priya's position is 15 from the left, that means Priya comes towards the right of Rashmi, which means now there were already 10 children towards the left of Rashmi and towards the left of Priya, there were already 14 children. That means between Rashmi and Priya, there are going to be 4 children. So how did I get the answer? How many children there between Priya and Rashmi? There are going to be 4 children. I got the answer by combining both the statements. So if I'm combining both the statements, my answer is going to be E. That means option 3 is going to be my answer. How did I get the answer? I do not need the exact answer. This is possible that it might not be 4. It can be 3 or 2 also. But when I used both the statements together, I got my answer. My answer is option 3. That's E. Let's do the next one. So pointing to a photograph of boy, Mr. Ram said, he is the only son of my mother. How is Mr. Ram related to the boy? Blood relation. A very, very important topic of our logical reasoning is blood relations. So he is the only son of my mother. My mother's only son. That means that is me. So only son's son, that means the person is going to be my son. If this person is my son, how is Mr. Ram little boy? That means I am this person's father. I'll have to look for the option that's father. Yes, I have father. My answer is option D. Hint was use this only son. When it is anything like only son, things become more easy to solve. Because if this was not the only son, here there could have been siblings also. Then answer would have been either father or uncle. Depending on the information, my answer would have changed. But since it was only son, things became more easier. Let's do the next one. So Ravi is the son of Aman's father. Aman's father's sister. So Ravi is the son of Aman's father's sisters. That means Ravi and Aman, these are cousins. Sahil is the son of Divya, who is the mother of Gaurav and grandmother of Aman. So Aman's grandmother is Divya. Okay. Ashok is the father of Tanya and grandmother of Ravi. So Ashok is the father of Tanya and grandfather of Ravi. Okay, regarding Ashok also we have information. Divya is the wife of Ashok. So Divya and Ashok, these are married couple. How is Ravi related to Divya? I need to have the relationship between Ravi and Divya. So one thing that I already know is Ravi and Aman, these are cousins. That is made clear from the first line itself because Ravi is son of Aman's father's sister. These people, these two, they are cousins. Now, another thing that I have is uh, Sahil is the son of Divya, who is the mother of Gaurav and grandmother of Aman. So, Divya is the grandmother of Aman. So, if Divya is the grandmother of Aman, that means Divya is also the grandmother of Ravi because these two, these are already cousins. So, how is Ravi related to Divya? So, if Divya is the grandmother of Ravi, that means Ravi is the grandson of Divya. My answer becomes option three, that's grandson. So I do not have to go into all of these middle parts. I do not have to go into all these complexities of son and father and relationships. Directly using the first line, I have my answer that Ravi is the grandson of Divya. My answer becomes option three, that's grandson.